civil lawsuit that the whole world watches like a championship finale. Not because of the paperwork, not because of the legal briefs, but because of the moment. A few seconds of a look, one line clipped at the perfect beat, boom, turned into a viral clip, and the crowd delivers a verdict on the spot. The terrifying part is the real court hasn't even finished its work, but the court of public opinion has already sprinted ahead, powered by algorithms. And when a lawsuit becomes an event, the winner isn't always the person who's right. The winner is whoever controls the attention rhythm. You open your phone and you're not following a case anymore. You're watching a series that lives in your pocket. People aren't waiting for a ruling. They're waiting for the next moment. A glance, a laugh in the courtroom, a half-second pause before an answer. Then it all gets compressed into a few seconds, just enough to spread. And once it spreads, the world starts, scoring it like it's the final round. Every smirk gets counted like evidence. One sentence gets read like a conviction. A human being gets forced into a costume, angel or villain, before you even have time to ask, "Hold on, am I seeing the full picture, or just shards?" That's where the Johnny Depp Amber Heard story stopped being a simple who's right, who's wrong in the normal sense. It became a story about the court of public opinion, a court that doesn't need a jury because it has an algorithm. And the algorithm doesn't care whether you're searching for truth or chasing a feeling. It asks one cold question: what keeps your eyes locked? You scroll, you stop, you replay, you send it to a friend, you comment, you come back for reactions, and you think you're choosing freely. But in reality, you just pumped blood into a machine that runs on attention. Attention is the heartbeat of this story. Welcome to Spin Control. We're not here to chase drama. We're here to peel back the system's spin. The way a story gets twisted, packaged, distributed, and eventually sold back to you. Because once a lawsuit turns into an event, it doesn't belong to the courtroom anymore. It belongs to the market. It belongs to the attention economy, where every second you stare at a screen has a price. Look at it like a series and it becomes obvious. There's a pilot episode, there are climaxes, there are twists, there's a main character, there's a villain, there's a cheering section, and there's a mob. Lines get ripped out and turned into slogans. Moments get framed as symbols, and everything gets packaged to the perfect size to spread. Short clips, punchy headlines, facial expressions cut at the exact impact point. From there, truth gets shredded into pieces, while emotion gets wrapped up and sold. And here's the line you need to hold on to. When a lawsuit becomes an event, the winner isn't necessarily the person who's right. The winner is whoever can control the attention rhythm. You can pick a side if you want. You can believe whoever you want. But one thing is hard to deny. This battle pulled millions of people into the same current, through platforms, comments, reaction videos, compilations, body language readings, and headlines like "New Evidence" and "Undeniable Moment." And that current doesn't run on endings. It runs on extension. You know that feeling, right? Every day, a tiny fragment is enough to keep the story alive. Not the full truth. Just bait. A soundbite, a facial expression, a sentence ripped from context. That's all it takes to ignite a fresh round of arguments. And inside that argument loop, the most dangerous trap snaps shut. You're not allowed to be not sure. You're forced to choose, forced to join a team. And the moment you join a team, you become free fuel for the machine. This machine has a clear habit. It rewards extremes and punishes hesitation. It pushes whatever makes you furious to the top of your feed and buries whatever calms you down at the bottom. It makes you feel like you're doing the right thing, when a lot of the time you're simply doing what's most profitable for the platform. The louder it gets, the more powerful the clip becomes. The more powerful the clip becomes, the weaker truth gets. Spin control doesn't need you to accept any conclusion. We just need you to stare at the real question. When the whole world gets dragged into this, who benefits? Not in some vague conspiracy way, in cold logic. Where does the money flow when attention explodes? Whose reputation swells when the story stretches on? Who needs this to live as long as possible? Who turns it into a job? Who turns it into an asset? And there's an even darker question. Is this spike in attention completely organic? Or does someone understand it, feed it, and press the button at the perfect moment? Because in the modern world, what destroys a person isn't always a verdict. Sometimes it's a label slapped onto your forehead that spreads faster than any explanation ever could. If you're starting to see the picture, good. Part 1 has one job: pull you out of the team sports intoxication and place you in front of the machine. In Part 2, we start naming the beneficiaries, one group at a time, so you can see why a lawsuit can turn into a goldmine, a stage, a battlefield, and an invisible set of chains. But before we name beneficiary number 1, look straight at the smallest thing you still think is harmless: the Watch Next button under that short clip. Because it might be the switch that turned the whole war on. Now we do exactly what we promised. Set emotion aside. Look cold. Look straight. When a lawsuit becomes a global event, the question isn't who wins. The question is, where does the money go? Where does reputation inflate? And who needs this attention? Rhythm to last a little longer? The first group doesn't even need a mask. It's in your hand. The platforms. When the courtroom becomes content, platforms profit in the cleanest way possible. Watch time goes up, comments go up, conflict goes up, and most importantly, users keep coming back. A short clip of a look can keep you on the app for another 30 minutes, watching reactions, watching compilations, watching breakdowns, then returning to the original clip to compare. The platform doesn't need to know who you believe. It just needs you to stay. And here's Spin Control's twist. The algorithm doesn't reward truth. It rewards whatever makes you burn. It favors extremes because extremes trigger fast reactions. It buries nuance because nuance doesn't start fights. So the story gets shoved onto a dirty track. Either you're Team A or you're Team B. No gray zone. No, I'm not sure yet. The hotter you get, the more the clip gets pushed. The more the clip gets pushed, the hotter you get. But platforms don't eat alone. They need chefs. The second beneficiary group is the people who turn a courtroom into a content mine. YouTubers, TikTokers, streamers, entertainment channels, clipping accounts. When a lawsuit becomes a series, they get something more valuable than gold. A brand new episode every day. Today it's one line. Tomorrow it's a facial expression. The next day it's the detail nobody noticed. And just like that, the story gets boxed into endless products. You'll see labels designed to hook you. Body language analysis, psychology, lawyer reacts, expert breakdown, new evidence, shocking moment. Sounds sophisticated. Structurally, it's a grinder. Real private life goes in, fast content comes out, and it gets fed back to the crowd like snack food. The more experts show up, the easier it is for truth to get ripped from context. Because context is long and short clips sell. Then you ask, what about the press? That's the third beneficiary group, and it's more complicated because they profit and get trapped at the same time. A story this hot is a river of clicks, ads, subscriptions. But it's also a newsroom's lethal dilemma. Ignore it, and you lose the audience. Cover it, and you pour gasoline on it. So the press gets shoved into non-stop production mode. One angle per day, one update per hour, one live headline per minute. In that mode, what survives? Not the full truth. The addictive fragment. The quote that sparks rage. The exchange that turns into memes. The image built for sharing. As the rhythm speeds up, the standard for deep enough drops. And when you see an event covered by endless tiny updates, remember, saturation isn't the same as truth. Sometimes saturation is just proof the machine is eating well. But the game doesn't stop with media. The fourth beneficiary group is the litigation ecosystem. A major case isn't just two people and two lawyers. It drags in an entire entourage. Paralegals, consultants, experts, private investigators, researchers, risk analysts, speech advisors. In a case with global attention, those roles can expand, not just in money, but in personal brand. You'll watch commentary lawyers become stars. You'll watch channels built on reading documents turn into franchises. One sentence, "I analyzed this case," can become a marketing stamp. A lawsuit, accidentally or intentionally, becomes a professional stage. Not everyone wants it to last. But plenty of people don't lose if it lasts. That's the difference. Then comes beneficiary group 5, the one that screams spin control, PR, and image control. People think PR is just firefighting. In cases like this, PR is more like a writer's room. It doesn't write the truth, but it writes what people feel is true. It chooses the emotional camera angle. It chooses the label. It chooses which line gets highlighted and which line gets skimmed. And here's the subtle part. Once an image is damaged, damage control isn't a one-time act. It becomes a long campaign. The longer the story runs, the higher the demand to shape perception. The higher the demand, the more money flows to the people who know how to bend the narrative. And the loop closes. Attention produces labels. Labels produce extremes. Extremes produce the need for control, and control pumps more content into the attention stream. There's another beneficiary group that sounds distant but is actually close. People outside the entertainment machine. Studios, producers, managers, competitors. They don't need to touch the story directly to benefit. They just study it as a market lesson. When an icon becomes controversial, the whole system tightens up. Morality clauses, image clauses, scandal response clauses. Whoever knows how to play those rules gets stronger. Whoever can't keep up gets left behind. And there's an even quieter form of profit. When one name gets swallowed by controversy, a gap opens. In branding, attention is a seat. An empty seat is a prize. You don't have to ruin anyone to benefit. You just have to stand in the right place when the seat goes empty. If you feel like you're seeing a map, you are. But spin control isn't done. Because all the groups above, platforms, creators, press, the legal ecosystem, PR, outsiders, are the obvious beneficiaries. There's one beneficiary that's harder to admit, and that's what turns this whole story into poison. The public. Yeah, that's uncomfortable, but you have to hear it. The public gets a rush, a benefit that feels incredible in the moment. The right to judge, the permission to pick a side, the pleasure of rage, the feeling of standing on the right side without paying the cost immediately. And when society gets used to turning legal conflict into entertainment, society starts rewarding cruelty and punishing nuance. You're not allowed to say, "I don't have enough data yet." You're pushed to conclude. pushed to stone someone or worship someone, and extremism becomes a habit. So who's controlling who? Are you controlling the clip, or is the clip controlling you? Are you using the platform, or is the platform using your reactions to sell the story back to you? Here's the final twist of part 2. The biggest winner isn't necessarily the person on trial. The biggest winner might be the machine. The machine that learned how to turn private life into fuel, judgment into a game, and a few seconds into a hammer that stamps a human fate. But there's a deeper layer that should make your skin go cold: the rhythm of the explosion. Why does this story spike like episode, twist, episode, twist? Why do certain moments get pushed at the perfect time, like someone knows exactly when the crowd needs fresh bait? The thing that makes the system hold its breath isn't who's right. It isn't who lied. It's rhythm, timing. The way a story gets released, at the right moment, at the right dose, in the right format, so the crowd never sobers up. If you think this became a global show purely by accident, you might be missing the key spin control twist. Attention surges often come from a chain of buttons: cut, drop, boost, pin, repeat. That feeling of "there's something new every day" doesn't require full context. It doesn't require completeness. It just needs to be enough to make you open the app, enough to make you pick a side again, enough to make you comment again, enough to make you text someone, "Look at this." And the moment you send it, the story doubles. It doesn't spread like news. It spreads like a virus. And this is where the third force appears. Not a hooded villain, not a cartoon mastermind. A colder truth: there are often people who don't need to win the case. They just need the story to keep going. They don't need to love anyone. They don't need to hate anyone. They just need the attention curve to rise. Because when attention rises, money rises, reputation rises, power rises. And once you understand that, you see the nightmare. Every side can win small, while the machine wins big. You ask, so who controls the rhythm? Sometimes it's not one person. Sometimes it's an entire system that knows the crowd. If you dump the full truth all at once, people get bored fast. If you slice it into pieces and release it on a beat, people get addicted. Addicted people return. Returning people argue. Arguing people share. Sharing gets rewarded by the algorithm. Reward makes the story bigger. A nearly perfect loop. And here's a micro hook most people hate to hear. The more complex the truth is, the more power the clip has. Because complex truth demands time. Reading, listening, comparing. A clip doesn't. A clip gives you the feeling you've seen enough. It gives you a verdict in seconds. And once you've handed down that verdict, you'll defend it. Because nobody likes admitting they judged too fast. That's why a label is more dangerous than a verdict. A verdict has procedure. A label doesn't. A label only needs the right emotion and the right speed. It turns a human into a symbol, and a symbol into a target. And when the world sees a person as a symbol, that person stops being allowed to live like a person, no matter what the legal outcome is. Now do something simple for me. The next time you see a short clip called "Undeniable Proof," pause for 2 seconds. Not to defend anyone. Not to hate anyone. Just to ask Spin Control's question. Who wants me to see this, at this exact moment, in this exact way? And here's the closing cliffhanger. If attention rhythm can pull the entire world into a lawsuit, then in other stories with no live stream, no cameras, no 10-second clips, who's holding the rhythm, and how? Did they build that power step by step so that when the story finally blows up, nobody can get out in time? Before you go, Drop a straight answer in the comments. What keeps people silent the longest? Fear or opportunity?